Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first live stream here on my YouTube channel. I am not a YouTube guy, don't really care so much about YouTube, but I wanted to start a channel so I could share some of the new features of version 5.0 that our group had put out or will be putting out here soon. So you can get comfortable with using some of the different features of the sBitx software on the HF Signals hardware. Now, I do want to start and say that we are not affiliated with HF Signals in any way. We are independent developers, volunteer developers, I guess you could say. So there's a group of us on Discord that I did share a link below the stream here in the notes. So if you want to, you can join up on there and you can learn all about sBitx, zBitx, uBitx, other SDRs, etc. So my plan is to make a series of videos here that will cover some of the different features, especially for people who are new to the sBitx platform itself, and for people who are still using the stock version of sBitx on their either DE, V2, or V3 hardware. So I'd like to get you converted over to using our version, which we've added a lot more features, made this radio a lot more usable for field and home use in the shack. So I'll start out by going through. You're looking at the version 5.0 interface. Right now, obviously I'm on 20 meters on FT8. Everything looks the same here. Oh, and by the way, I apologize if the bottom here is cut off. I will try to fix that for the next stream. Right now, I'm running a Pi Display 2, so I scaled the screen back here, and I noticed that it cut off the bottom there. But I wanted this to look as close to what a stock radio would look like as far as the screen resolution, etc. Let me know if my stream is working or not. Again, I'm not really a YouTube guy, but let's see here. Okay, it is working. Great. I must have been on the wrong one. So anyways, back to our scheduled programming here. Apologize. So with the software here, as I covered, the module to display your battery voltage and amperage draw. Right now, you're looking at a 64-bit image that I developed and created. So 64-bit means that it's running on Raspberry Pi OS 64-bit version, which is the most current version of software. So you think like Windows or MacBook. They're running 64-bit operating systems. So 32-bit was old, and a lot of people aren't developing apps for it anymore. They're moving to 64-bit. So that's one of the reasons why we moved over to 64-bit. Plus, we're getting the latest software, operating systems, etc., put on this platform. So one of the things you'll notice here, again, right now we're showing our current time in Zulu time and our current date here. So this screen looks very similar to the original screen on a previous version, but you'll notice that the tune button here is missing. So we had problems with tune functions with our the built-in modems such as CW and FT8. So what we did is we automatically removed that from the GUI, both the local GUI here as well as the web GUI, to prevent any confusion. So if you want to do any tuning, you have to switch your mode over to one of the voice modes or digital modes, and then you can go ahead and tune here. So one of the other things is you'll notice that especially if you're coming from the 32-bit version, we have a menu button here. So this menu button, you open it once, it shows menu 1. There's a lot of different stuff in here. There's a transmit equalizer, a receive equalizer. So you can enable those just by toggling the buttons here. So and they'll show up over in the corner here. Or you can go ahead and customize your 5-band equalizer for transmit or receive. So this will contour to your voice if you want to set up a DX profile or just a standard CQ POTA profile. You can go ahead and do that in here. We do have automatic noise reduction, digital signal processing. These are, I guess you could say they're open source. They're good. They're not great. But they do help a lot when you're in a high noise area. As you can see, my waterfall is pretty crazy right now because of the S7 noise level that I'm hitting. We do have the compressor now works, so you can set this up, your voice compressor, your BFO. This is actually to combat internal birdies. So if you're on a frequency and you have a constant tone that is interfering with your signal, you can select this and adjust it. It will move the birdie right out of the way for you. There's also a transmit monitoring function. So if you want to hear what you sound like, especially if you're using the EQ or compression, you could turn on the TX monitor and you could select the volume level that your voice is going to be played back through the speakers or your headphones. We also have a VFO lock. This is very handy when you're out in the field and you accidentally bump that VFO and you start talking and you're like, how come nobody's hearing me? So it does not disable the actual touchscreen. It just disables the VFO knob on your radio. A little bit out of order here, but going back to that tune button. So when you're in one of the voice modes, you have your tune duration. So this is in seconds. So you can select, anywhere from, I think, 2 seconds. Yep. 2 to 30 seconds. So when you press that tune button, it will go ahead and tune your radio, send out a constant 700 hertz tone. So you can activate an external tuner, linear amplifier, etc. And then this tune power here, this is the percentage of power for that particular band. So it's the same as the drive level up here, except it's independent just for the tuning function. So a lot of times you don't want to send 25 watts or even 10 watts through to a tuner or a linear amplifier. You can customize it here. Now this setting, as well as the drive setting, the IF level, these are all set per band. So they're remembered. So whatever you set here, and if you change bands and you go back, it will remember these settings. Let's see. You'll notice that there is a S meter up here. This S meter is only good for, it's a relative S meter. So it's not entirely accurate. It's not calibrated. The closest calibration would be at IF level 52. So you could go ahead and, if you want to get a close estimation of, giving someone a 5.9 report, if your IF level is at 52, it's probably going to be closer there. But in a lot of cases, you can just look at your waterfall and use your ears, and you can tell if that person's a 5x5, a 4x8, or a 5x9. Menu number 2 here. So this one has our waterfall speeds. So waterfall minimum and maximum. This is the height of the waterfall. Our waterfall speed here. So I could slow this down to glacier speed or increase it. You'll see it starts moving faster. And then we have our scope gain. So we can go ahead and do some adjustments here. One thing I really like, especially in my high noise environment, is if you do auto scope on, you'll notice that it cleans up that scope quite a bit. So it gets rid of a lot of that hash and other things, so you can actually visualize the signals a little bit better. We also have a power down button right in the software here, so you don't have to go to the menu and go log out and hit power down. So you can do it right out of the software right here. So those are some of the existing features. So we're going to go over to, let's go to upper sideband. You can see there's a pretty good signal right there. And I apologize if my audio's, the radio audio is not going to come through this. I'll have to set that up in the future. But you'll notice that there's a normal and full spectrum. So this is really useful, in my opinion, because if you're in voice modes, you don't necessarily need to see the console box here to do any FT8 decodes or CW decodes. So full spectrum mode, this is was a pre-existing feature that is on our software as well. One thing you're going to notice, especially on this new image that I'm going to be releasing, is that the software has been updated. So if you download my current version of software, you'll notice that these applications are on here, but they've all been updated to the latest releases that I could find that are compatible with Raspberry Pi. So of course we got RDOP, we have FreeDV, Grid Tracker 2 that was recently updated, JS8 Call, JTDX. We have a pad on here for WinLink. We have a couple of sound modems on there, QSS-TV, and WSJTX, and some other ones. So that software has been updated. I also updated the sBitx toolbox. This guy right here. So this does dynamic scaling now. And there's also, if you're new to sBitx toolbox, there's also an update manager application that I put in here. So this will give you, it'll allow you to upgrade your system instead of typing in commands in the terminal. You can update the ham apps that is on my repo, as well as our sBitx repo. One big change on version 2.0 is you'll notice there's a console box here. So this console box will show you any error messages or the status of what your system is doing. Also, another update to the latest release of Toolbox is I've updated the Easy Data utility to back up pretty much everything on your that retains data on your system. So I'm not going to go through the entire list right now. I can share that later, but any of your ADIF logs, your WSJTX configuration, FLDigi, JS8 call, your pictures for QSS-TV, your sBitx configuration data, your databases, all of that. I think I've added about 30 to 40 different items in there that it does a backup on, and I'll cover that with this utility in a future video. And again, you can still add and customize your toolbox, so you can use some of the existing applications that I've created on here. Add them, remove them, as you please. All right, so one of the real big features of this is that we've added a lot of great functionality for remote control and remote operations. So right now you're looking at my screen that's through the Real VNC viewer, so I can share it with you, but it would operate the same as if I was in front of the radio. But you'll know that this radio does have a web interface, but that web interface has limited functionality. We've completely revamped that interface and added a number of features such as remote TX, so you can actually transmit right from your browser, from a smartphone, a tablet, a computer, or another computer on your network, right to your radio. So I'll go ahead and switch over to that screen. Have you guys seen my Chrome screen? No? There it is. Okay. All right. So one of the things with Chrome, or I should say with the web browser, is that I typed in sBitx.local. You'll notice that it goes to, instead of going to 8,000, it goes to 8443 now. So if I would just type this in, of course it's going to make me a liar now, but you'll notice that it says microphone in use. So you may have to add, when you first start this up, you may have to say, I'll click allow to say, this is a self-signed certificate. Do you want to trust this website? You would go ahead and go into advanced options and click allow. So that's one of the things that we had to do to overcome this, because you cannot actually enable the microphone unless you have a certificate of some sort. It has to be encrypted data. So you'll say, it says right up here, your site is not secure because of this and that. Just ignore this. You'll notice that this is a valid certificate, even though it's self-signed, and it's created by our group, the sBitx 64-bit development group. And I think we'll all be dead by 3005, so I think the certificate should be good for a while. One of the things you'll notice is that the opening screen is a little different than it used to be. So you would type in your passcode, and in this case, by default, it's 123.
Down from the Cape as the crow flies. So when he has launches up at the Kennedy Space.
I'm going to go ahead and mute that audio. I think it might be coming through to the audio stream, or to the live stream here. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can tone that down a bit.
And it's kind of gotten to the point, well, it's another, oh, well, he's
WB40KU.
watching
All right. So it's a little bit loud in my ears, but I'll leave it on for just a moment there so you can hear the audio that's coming through my browser. Don't mind that interference in the background for now. But one of the things I noticed about this interface is that we're also showing the battery display up here if you have that external module installed. And you'll notice that we've condensed the band down to a single button here, so you can quick select your band that you want to operate on. So if you want to operate 40 meters, you'll notice that, remember, the last frequency that was on and the mode was FT8. So on this, you'll notice that it's showing the FT8 data. There's also, we've changed the mapping here. So when you see band activity or contacts you already have in your log, they will start populating on this map, and you can scroll in, zoom out, you'll see that it shows the dots. So this is kind of nice if you want to get a bird's eye view of what contacts you've made on FT8, the built-in mode here. But FT8 isn't much different. I mean, you don't need a microphone to transmit on it. If you scroll down here, you'll notice that you still have your quick keys, so you can send a CQ, do your replies and all that good stuff. You can also, if you add a macro for POTA or for some other contest, you can go ahead and select it from here if you've already created it. And then it will automatically switch these buttons over. So let's go to CW1. You'll notice that now it's got the CW macros loaded. So we're going to go back to FT8 on this. And then, of course, you can select your transmit tone. So look for an open spot in the band and go ahead and adjust this. So you'll see that up on the top screen there, the TX line is moving. You can select if you're transmitting even or odd, or TX first is on or off, and whether or not you want to automatically respond to any CQ calls to your call sign. So let's go ahead and let's do 40 meters again. Let's do this. So up here, you'll notice that there's a few different options. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just ignore this for a minute. Let's do 7200, our favorite frequency. I'm going to switch my low to at lower sideband. So you notice that the interface changes here, right? So one of the great things about this is that now you'll notice that it says browser mic is on. So if I disable this, if I hit TX, it's going to record my voice through the microphone that's connected to the radio. If I enable this and I press TX, it's going to use my microphone, the one that I'm talking to you on right now, through the web browser here, right to my radio to talk to whoever I want to make a contact with. So you use these buttons TX and RX to start talking and to receive. So this is a big thing in our mind that you know, is going to make operating this from a phone or a tablet very easy. So you can even leave this radio in another room in the shack, have a network connection, Wi-Fi connection to your internal network, and your phone's on that network, and just connect right up and start talking. One of the other things too is that we've added is up here in this scope, you can click and you can drag. So you'll notice here that the frequency is changing with whatever whichever tuning step that I've selected. Okay. So right now we're on 7 to 11. Let's go up here. It looks like there's a signal. So you can use your finger on your tablet and just drag and scroll. Or you can also come up here to the frequency, select that, and you'll notice that there's a frequency dialog box in here that you can type in a frequency. You don't even have to be on the same band. If I want to go back to, say, 14,254, I hit enter. You'll notice that now we're on 14,254. We're not even on the 40 meter band anymore. You can adjust your audio. So this is the audio that is that's coming through the radio, and you may hear that in the background. So if you are in the shack and you want to listen to the radio, the audio through the radio instead of through the browser, you would go ahead and adjust it through here. There's a mute button up here. So this mutes the web browser audio. So if I click this, it'll mute the web browser audio only. And of course, since I'm in a lower sideband mode, I can press the tune button here. And again, the tuning works with the tune duration and the tune power that you set in the on the radio's GUI, not in the web. So whatever that's already set at, you could go ahead and press tune, and it'll go ahead and perform the tuning function for you. We have our AGC controls up here, our bandwidth level, so bandwidth filtering. One of the things that you'll notice too is that if I hover over here, I'll get these arrows. I can drag our bandwidth filtering right out of here, so I can make this thinner, smaller. Since I'm in lower sideband, I can adjust the low cutoff and the high cutoff. And I know this is backwards. Let's go ahead and switch that to upper sideband. So this would be your low cutoff and your high cutoff. So this would be your light gray box is your bandpass filter, so you can null out any offending signals or contour it the way you'd like. And we also have the S meter up here in the web browser as well. If you would like, you can go ahead and press the menu button, and you'll notice that you have some additional functions down here, depending on the mode that you're in. So you can run the commands. There's text commands that you can run that are in the console box on the local GUI. The same thing applies to here. You can still run those. You can enable telnet. So if I do start, you'll notice that when this starts, right now it's showing me spots. So it's connecting to the NC7J DX cluster. And one of the features that we added on here, so there's a guy on 14.048. Let's go up here and scroll down. Let's drag. Look at that. There's our guy on 14.048. So when you're on the band and you leave your DX cluster open, you can find different spots, and you can go easily go and make a QSO if you'd like. I don't remember the frequency of this, but I believe it does clear out when you either change the bands or after a certain amount of time. I'd have to ask one of the other developers on my team. So go ahead and stop that. You notice that we have the recording function up here, so you can record your QSO and save it as a WAV file on the actual the radio itself. If you go into set, you'll notice that you can change your passkey to log in, change your call sign in your grid right out of here, and then you can go ahead and select your DX cluster, also known as the telnet server. One other great feature of this is if you click on apps, it's going to open up a new tab. And John and I worked pretty hard on this to give you basically an X11 VNC viewer right through the web GUI. So you're wondering what the heck that is. So JSA call does not have a native web interface. JTDX does not have a web interface, native web interface. QSS TV, same thing, grid tracker, etc. So what this does is this actually connects to your sBitx and launches an app. So I'm going to go ahead and press that. And you'll notice another window pops up here. And because this app is quite large, it takes a minute for it to load. But it will eventually pop up here and display. So the app is actually loading up in the background. And once it's ready, it will display the interface right on the screen here for you. So there we go. We have JSA call right through the browser. So one of the big problems with WSJTX, JSA call, etc., is that when some of these apps were built for a much larger screen, so when you go into settings and you go to select your call sign and all that stuff, a lot of this stuff was cut off. Like you couldn't see the cancel and OK buttons. Now you can do it right through the browser, and that makes it great. So you can enter in your call sign. You can select your customize your features and how you use this application, etc. So again, I am running JSA call through a browser on my sBitx, and I'm not even in front of the radio right now. So you'll notice that JS8 is running. So if I were to send, if I would configure my call sign and send out a heartbeat, I'm sure I'd get a bunch of responses here. And when you're done with this this program, you simply close it. You'll notice that it automatically closes here. Let's say I wanted to run WSJTX. And by the way, while we're waiting for that to load, if you're asking yourself, boy, this looks familiar, this looks like DigiPi, but it's using a similar technology to DigiPi, but we've had to do a lot of work to make it work, to make it usable on the sBitx. we basically started with the same, I guess, the same concept, and then rebuilt it from the ground up. So right now we're on WSJTX. Again, this is a new updated software version 2.8. So I'm going to go ahead and load up Grid Tracker as well. And I'm going to make that go. While that's loading up, I'm going to go ahead and make sure my radio is in. Okay, so my radio did go to digi mode, which is what's needed for the external digital modes of third-party apps. And we are going to select 40 meters, FT8. And we'll notice that our radio did switch over to 40 meters FT8. So as we wait for some decodes to come in, we're going to bring up Grid Tracker here. And you'll see that Grid Tracker is also working through the browser. So is WSJTX. So we're seeing some decodes here. CQ onlys. So this is a breakthrough for either remote operation, field operation, or if you just want to do armchair operation from your couch while the radio is in the other room. We can do most of the features that are in the web GUI and or in the local GUI are now in the web GUI, with the exception of a few things we'll be probably adding more later as we develop the software. But you'll see that you can basically run an FT8 QSO session right out of the web browser, which is great. And again, I have Grid Tracker here that can also help me and give me alerts. So any of these alerts should be able to come through the audio on the browser here. You can also run the sBitx toolbox natively right from the web browser now, which is kind of cool. So if you want to, like say for example, if you're trying to run FT8 mode natively on the sBitx, and you want to open up the macro manager, well, you just do that here. You go ahead and open your macro and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and change this. Or if you're doing a CW contest, you can go ahead and load up that macro, make some changes, and then save as a new one, and then load it up in the software. So we made it quite easy here for you. Of course, USB headset will not work unless you're connected in front of the radio. Our voice keyer does work. So this app that I created, this will work right from the browser. So if you have pre-recorded announcements on here, go ahead and you would just go ahead and transmit those, which is really nice. Now you do have to set these up ahead of time, either on the radio, well, I should say on the radio, either using the USB headset or the built-in microphone for that. Another nice feature is Timekeeper. If you're not familiar with this one will sync your real-time clock that's built into the radio to either the internet or to your system clock, etc. So when you're running digital modes, obviously time is important, so you can do that. Having said that, I also added a functionality for GPS on here now. So if you're away from the computer or from the network, you can connect an external GPS. I'll provide some details on that later. But you'll notice on our apps screen here, if you click on down here, it says system information. We have a system monitor. Gives you a quick glance of everything that's going on with your radio. So if you would have a headset plugged in here or some other audio interface, USB audio interface, you'll see that I do have my GPS connected right now, and it just pulled in the satellites that it can see. And I do have the U-Blox 7. It's a really cheap Amazon $15 GPS that I bought. And it works great. You'll see what our memory usage is, how many connections we got going on, if I'm connected to Wi-Fi, which I'm not right now. So your current IP address of the radio and the host name, etc. So this is kind of a cool little feature there as well. There on this new image, there is a hotspot. So I'm going to switch over to my other screen and show you that. Oh, by the way, since I'm still connected to my through the web browser, you'll notice that the local display here says it shows that basically all this stuff is disabled. And the reason why we do that is because it eats up processing power. It eats up the shared memory and the GPU on the Raspberry Pi. So our team decided to disable that. If you're operating it remotely, there's no point in looking at the waterfall and the spectrum on the radio itself. So in order to correct that, if you want to use that again, you would go back to your browser and just basically exit out. Go ahead, close that. All right. And then if you go back to here, you'll notice that your waterfall and spectrum scope are back, so you can operate this radio. So as I was saying about the field use, etc., there is a new thing on here. I'm not going to open it up right now because I don't want to reveal my Wi-Fi networks. But if you run this, you'll notice that it will have a hotspot. So if you're away from the network, you can go ahead and enable this SSID called a sBitx hotspot. And on your phone, you would connect to that hotspot and then type in this password, and then you could basically operate your radio remotely through your phone or your tablet, directly connected to the sBitx. So that hotspot feature will be available on version 5.0. And last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this for a minute and go to call setup. So what call setup is, this has existed on my previous images, but you'll notice that it updates more applications. So if you use WSJTX, JSA call, JTDX, QSSTV, Pat WinLink, or sBitx, you could go ahead and type in your call. So let's do W1AW. All right, so if I hit submit, you'll notice that it should have automatically updated all those applications. So if I reopen sBitx, you'll see that my call sign has been changed up here. So when I'm logging any new contacts, it'll be under this call sign. This is useful for if you have multiple operators, such as on field day or POTA. It's a lot quicker than going in here into the menu, clicking set, and then changing your call sign and grid. So, and it automatically updates the most frequently used apps. Now, of course, CQR log does not automatically update. There are some apps that I can't update based on how the configuration files are set up. I guess before I wrap it up here, one thing that I wanted to address is that when the radio automatically boots up or starts up, you don't have to start sBitx anymore. This will automatically come up. Michael, thanks for the questions. I'll go ahead and address those in a couple of minutes here. So yeah, when you start up your radio, you just wait about 10 seconds after you see the desktop. It will automatically start up and you can start using the radio. Or it also automatically starts up the web interface so you can use that as well. So Michael, we are not using X-Pro. We did try using that as a X11 forwarder GUI, but we found that it was too difficult to use. It was a little bit buggy, and we needed something a little more stable since we're distributing this out to everybody else. And you said if I install other software, can I add it to the list for remote use? Yes, of course you can. So I'll show you the configuration of that. So if you go into here, go into sBitx, and you go into web, and then scripts. You'll notice that we have the scripts here. So those apps that are available in the web GUI, we have a start and stop script for each one of those. So I'll go ahead and just like show you. Let's see, it's far end. JSA call. So this is what JSA call looks like. You need to select an open VNC port. And then so if this is 5903, it starts at 5900, 5902 and 60. Is it 59? I don't remember. I'd have to look at it. But anyway, the 3 here always matches this. And then we're showing display number 3. You would go ahead and put your label in here, so what you want to display up on the screen there. And this would be the binary application that you want to call. So if it's not, if it's right on the system and the bin directory, you can go ahead and call it there. Otherwise, you'd have to put in the whole thing like home pies, sBitx, etc. And if you don't want it to conflict any other applications, you would add those in the stop other apps section here, and etc. So you're thinking, oh man, that's too confusing. Well, guess what? We have templates up here. So you don't have to break anything. We have a template start app and a template stop app. So if you want to add additional applications, you can go in here. You'll notice that you just fill in application name, app command, possibly change the VNC port or add in, uncomment any of the other application scripts that you need. And that's it. You don't really edit anything below this line here. Actually below line 18. So you can add as many applications as you want. That, like, if you want to add gpredict, well, you can do that. Just maybe make a copy of the template, the start and stop, and then they'll show up in the list the next time you refresh the page. So we'll probably cover that more in depth in a future video. But just wanted to give you guys an update on the software here. Here, I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like without, let's go screen scaler. So I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay. So this is what my screen normally looks like with the touchscreen 2 built into the Raspberry Pi. If you're looking for those files, they're on my Discord. That is in the description below. You can join up there and grab those files and the instructions on how to install the bigger screen. So this is a 1024 by 600 screen. The default screen is 800 by 480. So you can see it gives you a little more room to play with. And just to show you for reference, if I open up the sBitx application, that outline there shows you the size of the original screen compared to the the new screen that I'm using. Oh, one other thing on the image is that I also set up added hopefully better HDMI, external HDMI monitor compatibility. So when you boot up the sBitx and you have an HDMI monitor connected, it should automatically show up on the screen, and then you can go ahead into screen configuration and move that monitor around or change the resolution or whatever you have to do. So, oh, I'm glad Mike is on here. Mike is one of our volunteer developers, KB2ML. Appreciate the work that you've done, and Bob as well. One of the things that really annoys a lot of people about this particular radio is the terrible support for CW shaping, CW speed, missing characters, etc. It all just was terrible. With the work of a few guys who are really dedicated to making this work, they've pretty much fixed CW modes. So yeah, you can use the F1 keys, but one important thing is that if you notice your input, there's a new input here. So if you run a bug or ultimate keyer, iambic, iambic B, iambic A, iambic B, or a straight key, all of these are working now in the software. And you know what? I missed something. Zero beat. So zero beat is a great little function, just like it is on some of the other radios. If you're trying to dial in a CW signal, let's change our step here to 10H. We're gonna try to zoom in on a signal here. Whenever I want to try to find a signal, it's hard to get them right. Doesn't help with my noise floor being so high either. But anyway, if you get close, this will light up. It'll be green in the middle, yellow, and then red. So it helps you try to align the frequency. And of course, if I zoom in here a little bit, this might give me a better chance in trying to find the signal I'm looking for. So I think there's a guy. I passed him up. Yeah. Anyways, you guys will have to play around with that. There was an app that I created for this external application in the toolbox. You can go ahead and use that. That one is a little more sensitive than the one that's built in here, but it's doable. It works. So you can see how this one's a little more sensitive. I'll bring this up here. If I expand this, just click on this to expand it. You'll see that I can select the frequency that I want to zero beat on. So if I'm comfortable listening at 550 hertz or 700 hertz, etc. So the sooner I close, or the more I zoom in on a signal, the more this will light up and it'll show the frequency here. So when you're responding to someone, you can get it pretty close there, and then you can go ahead and click it again to minimize it. You'll notice in full screen mode here, let's go to normal mode. Nothing's changed. It looks the same. Let's turn off zero beat. But in full screen mode, we still get a CW decoder up here, but it's been shrunk. So Mike put this in our software, which is nice because even for a experienced CW ops, there may be a reason, you might sneeze and you're like, oh, I didn't catch that. Well, you can look at the screen and hopefully figure out what the person was saying. So nice to see a full widescreen again, with the 25 kilohertz bandwidth on the on the sBitx, you know, it's our max bandwidth, so you can't really see the entire spectrum, but you can see quite a bit, and in my opinion, it makes it a little easier on the eyes. So, were there any other questions, or did I miss anything? If I did miss anything, any of the developers that are watching, if you could just let me know on Discord, and I'll make sure to cover those in the next video. But I really hope you enjoy this. My plan is to release this early next week. So this software does require a brand new image. So you'll have to go in on my wiki page on GitHub and follow the instructions on how to either burn a new SD card, copy the image over. So it'll be pre-configured. You'll just have to enter in your call sign and run easy data to on your old system and your new system, copy the data, restore the data, etc. And again, I'll try to cover that in another video this weekend on how to use easy data utility, and we'll go from there. So thanks everyone for joining, and I hope this does help some of the other hams that are interested in our project. Again, we're independent software developers, I guess software hacks more than anything, but when you put a group of us together, we can make some amazing things. And since this radio is open source and hackable, what better platform to do it on, right? So thanks everyone. I hope you have a great evening, and we'll catch you next time.